Hello, everyone, and welcome to Auto Asphixation. And this is Lark.
And Kimberly,
Thank you for watching our very special episode.
thank you very much.
and actually, I think we actually even have a more special, not even special. What we are talking about today is just okay. Um, like every political movement claims to have red lines, racism, corruption, abuse of power. Yet somehow misogyny constantly negotiates its way to be an exception. And it's not just on the right. It's not just, even though we will be talking about them a lot today, it's not just on the right. It's not just in institutions, it's everywhere. It's on the left, it's in the music scene, it's in writing, it's in art. And so
I
today, go ahead.
I get Lilith magazine, which is a feminist Jewish magazine, and
Mhm.
this month's cover story, the title is Misogyny, It's Back, and it says in parentheses, it never left.
No, it never left. It's like herpes.
Yeah.
I thought I had it under control. I did not.
We are having an outbreak of misogyny right now.
Ew, ew, yes. And you know, Graham Crack. Sorry, why don't I want to call him Graham Cracker? Why did I never do that? Okay, anyway, Graham Graham Platner. I mean, he was supposed to be the working class hero, even though we already pegged him because we know what misogyny looks like. We pegged him almost a year ago. Then we have Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, Kean. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
Kane.
it's just diabolical.
Well, it is diabolical because, when you look at, okay, like I'll take Graham Platner out of it. Technically, there's two graham crackers in this conversation. Um,
Oh my God, you're right.
yeah. I'll take him out of this conversation, out of this part of the conversation because he's a progressive Democrat. But Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell and Tom Kean Jr. have upheld misogyny, patriarchy, through their votes their entire careers and have benefited from the programs and healthcare benefits that they take away from common citizens.
Yeah, and I mean, and this goes to like I'm kind of always doing this weird philosophical thing. I think about Henri Lefebvre and that space is produced socially. It seems like respect and misogyny is also produced socially. Well, respect for for things that happen just because of the. I mean, I think about all the things that they've taken away, and I'm sorry, like when I hear certain people kind of trying to say nice things about either of those two.
It, there's nothing that night there really, I think it was Mark Twain that said that I've never killed a man or wished a man dead, but I have read many an obituary with great joy. Like, I'm probably horribly misquoting it, but like that's true. Like you can, like these are people who actively have harmed people, and Graham Platner is in this part of the conversation as well. They have actively harmed people. For them to criticize the left when they cheer the deaths of Palestinian children is just really it's just really diabolical.
No, it's just like so many bad actors. Like it's just kind of like who gets to make mistakes, who gets to like recover from certain scandals. And I mean, I'm just like I always feel like, like patriarchy is part of this conversation about space and power because space is socially created, power is socially created, and it's not neutral. And it really just bothers me in how many different shapes that this system of misogyny whether it be Graham Clark, whether it be Lindsey Graham or Mitch McConnell. I mean, I, it, even there are people who are, progressive who are kind of trying to be decent people about it. But the thing is that, is it somebody who's created so much harm? Is it decent for you to act like they were okay? Is it fair to act like um they were okay?
And is it fair to criticize oppressed peoples for taking joy in the end of their oppression, even if it's a small sliver of that end of oppression?
Yeah, and I think that, one of the things that bothers me is that there's this attitude, even like we talk about, even on the left, in progressive spaces, and even, art spaces. Well, this person's a great artist, this person's a great writer. We have this kind of Superman mentality where the only people who can save us are men, or it's one person. And so many times the default for personhood is man. So we can't destroy this man because that will destroy us. He's helping us. Whether you are a person that's like, pro choice or anti abortion, you still want your champion. You don't want to talk about him. Kind of like, and you could see that, like, even with Lindsey Graham, Lindsey Graham, I always think about the fact that this is a person, and this is not me mocking him. He's clearly a queer person, a queer person that is not a heterosexual. This is not a judgment call. But the fact that people who hate LGBTQ people who hate intersex people who hate transgender people, the policies he voted for, how horrible he was, and the fact that he got away with it, that people who hate and we also see that in many ways this is about power. It's not even about values, because it seems like, you can harm children, you can harm them, you can harm anything you want, as long as what you do continues to uphold the infrastructure of hegemony.
No, you're absolutely, and when you look at a person like Lindsey Graham went wherever the winds were changing. Whoever was in power, when Joe Biden was president, he said nice things about Joe Biden. Like, when he was vice president, he said nice things about Joe Biden. But he was more than happy to be Trump's lapdog as soon as Trump was in power. And you see this a lot in patriarchal structures, that patriarchy is very unwilling to upset the balance.
Exactly. I mean, because I think about even the idea of the flawed human. Humans are allowed to be flawed. The reason why women cannot be flawed, the reason why racialized people cannot be flawed. And when I say women, in a way, it's like this weird thing where I feel like when people say women, they mean gender, and kind of like gender in some ways is a kind of, I always feel like it's kind of like this racialized thing. So when women, they mean white women. Even though of course we have genders in every every cultural group, but within talking about power, I just want you guys to know that we understand when we're talking about women, we actually mean all women. But within power, the thing is this: the only person that is human is a white man within the United States. With every person who is a human is a white man. And the thing is that humans can have flaws. If you are not viewed as human, if you are broken, if you are flawed, then you need to be thrown away, because you don't want a broken hammer. You don't want an object that doesn't work. Flaws are for men only. Flaws are for human. To human is to err. You are not a human. I think this is one of the things that I've kind of like come to see. The reason why we can't make a mistake is because our goal, our job here within hegemony is to serve the human. And of course, humans have different ways. They're complex. We're not complex. We're simply just holes.
No, no, you're absolutely right. And you can compare it like
And I think this is something that we have to really consider and think about.
I think, and we can look back and we can compare um Hillary Clinton running for president and the absolute foaming at the mouth fervor that Trump and his cronies had to lock her up over emails. When and you can compare that to Trump's own actions, having classified documents in a Mar-a-Lago bathroom, the Epstein files, all of these like little things that have happened in the administration, like signal chats getting leaked, et cetera, et cetera. Time and time and time and time again, they are forgiven and their transgressions are looked over because they're men. But Hillary having emails on a private server was seen as gossipy, catty, suspicious, something that is an age-old thing that patriarchy pushes about women. It goes all the way back to witchcraft times.
No, exactly. And I feel like, patriarchy is one of the few bipartisan institutions left in the United States. Like it's like, yeah, we can't all get behind the environmental the climate crisis, that's lefty. Bike lanes, that's lefty. Um Women walking around with pants, that's DEI. but but patriarchy, we all can agree, everyone can agree on patriarchy. And I feel like I kind of like go to like Dolores Hayden and this the city of the patriarchy. The patriarchy survives because institutions are designed to absorb the contradictions. And I think that's an idea from Hayden that I just feel like, wow, like yes, like I want you guys to know it's not my original thought, but patriarchy survives because essentially to err is to humans, and humans are men, and absorbing all these contradictions. It's like, well, of course, people are complicated. But what about it? But not Hillary, because she's not a person.
Yes, she's an accessory. Like it even happens, this even happens. Patriarchy is so deeply entrenched in our culture that you even see it in alternative and subculture spaces. You see like men in bands who get away with sexual assault, dating significantly younger women where it's predatory in behavior. And they get away with it. But if you have a woman in the same scene who's not part of a band, because if you're in a band, you get shielded. But if you have a woman who's a part of the same scene and she's very sexually active and, like is like just doing the essentially the same things that the man is, and she's ostracized and thrown out, called a slut, all sorts of those things. But these men are still upheld because, well, I mean, like they're in the band, like look how cool they are, or they're a very important person in the scene, or they've been around for a long time.
Well, this is the whole thing. That just frustrates me because as a person who is a writer, as a person who is a poet, as a person who read a lot of these, part of I love the whole beat poetry scene. But when I acted like allegedly like the way men acted, when I was free to have like, when I dated lots of people, when I had sex with lots of people, oh, it's a problem. You're a problem. You're not supposed to act that way, which is like always very interesting because, I think about in a way though, me or you being part of these scenes, not as a object or a token or a hanger on, us being part of these scenes is actually destroying the scenes, because the scenes are in some ways replication of hegemony for working class or ostracized men or humans. And I always think about in a way that in what some ways, what if patriarchy is less about bad men and more about retaining this system of power, retaining the system of hegemony, because, they keep us in check. And then the people who have power, like the 1%, they don't have to worry about, essentially all they have to do is check the people below them, and they can get those people to check us.
And it's concerning the amount of people on the left who are actively they're simping still for a rapist.
They are, and they get very touchy, and
Yes.
you don't have to get touchy, because here's the thing: once, and this is a very salient point that people need to understand, religion is part of the patriarchy, is part of control. And this whole idea that you need a savior, and you have a savior, and you can't, and if you say that this savior was wrong, then essentially you're going against religion. We can't be doing politics like that. Like, to me, the feminist, doing politics through a feminist lens means I do not put people on pedestals. I do not do evangelism. I do not like worship a person. I don't believe in Superman. I'm not looking for Superman. I'm not looking for Jesus. I am looking for politics is a practice. When you find someone and when someone's running for office and you get more information, guess what? You could just walk away from them. They are not Jesus. And I think this is
No.
about this. This is about the puritanical nonsense. A lot of people, they grew up in a lot of like very religious households, and very puritanical households, and very patriarchal households. And what they do is they take the shape of that and change the content, but the shape remains the same. Like, they're like, lifting people up. The shape is the same, even if the content sounds good, but it looks, I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly, but the
No,
infrastructure, go ahead.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah. I mean,
it,
go ahead.
and that the shape of that, it goes along in and it's you're so right, like especially in the United States, we're so much of our popular culture is fixated on, a chosen one, like, even in like my favorite thing, Star Wars, like, it opens with like, just a lonely farm boy in the desert, and he's somehow the savior of the rebellion. It's not until you look at some of the other series that you see that, like, no, like a rebellion takes everybody. It takes all sorts of organization, and you can't just rely on one figurehead.
Well, see, I think the thing I that's so great about you is that you, as you know, I was always a Star Trek fan because of that issue in Star Wars. But we never really had this conversation about it. But as we've been talking, you've been like saying like, oh, you do see that kind of super looking for superhero Superman thing, and also the people who made the series saw that and they saw that harm, and they changed. They changed how the rebellions are run. And that to me shows that, to me, being able to do that is more important than knowing everything. Being able to like see, oh, this could go wrong. And then working through that, the people who made the series Star Wars, like, people working through that, like, oh, how this didn't, because it started in the 70s and we had this way, and we're kind of like, wow, we need everybody. We're not
We
going to
need,
have, look, and I think the reason why I'm looking for Superman thing, I hate that documentary about charter schools, and I always hated like how they used it, and I was always like, ugh. And I really really feel that it's so important for us to realize this is a practice, this is community. You don't have to know everything. We don't know everything. We're not doing solutions journalism. We're not doing to the point where we have to know the right answer. We have to predict the right answer, or I can't. So we can't change our path because I've already written the end, and the end says Platner is is the senator of Maine, and since he's not, I don't know what to do. You shouldn't be doing that. The end shouldn't be written yet. You should be living in the moment, going things in the moment. Yes, plan. Yes, you plan. I'm not talking about like go and like starve yourself and don't go to work, but you plan for the future. But you can't essentially be so invested in a result that you can't adjust yourself, because that is part of power. That's part of a hegemony. That's part of the patriarchy. That's all part of this game.
Yes, no, it totally is. And even, like even in media literacy is so lacking in our country that we can't even like a new Superman movie came out last summer, and I was never really like a big huge Superman fan, but I really liked that movie. It struck me in a way like that a movie hadn't in a really long time. I got very emotional. But if you look at Superman and you look at it with nuance, like, yes, he's this figure, but Superman also empowers everyone around him to be a better person, to do that. Everybody can be a superhero by those little small acts that you do every single day in your life. And that's how we come together as a people and make a better world. Like he doesn't ask you to just rely upon him. He asks you to look for the Superman within yourself and what you can do. And media literacy is so lacking in our country that people really cannot see the nuance in that.
Well, I think this is, in regards to media literacy, I think in a way that we have to really understand that that was willful. They saw the power of media, hegemony, power, the elite. I hate using. I guess I liked hegemony better than elite, but hegemony saw the power within the media, and that is why they did everything they could. They got rid of the fairness doctrine. They, essentially defunded the media, made it so people who wrote for a living could not be alive. As you know, my struggle. I've made little and little bits of money. You can't even get health insurance now. We they actively made it so you teach to the test, so people can't read full books anymore. So this whole media illiteracy that people talk about, understand that was on purpose because they saw the power. People in power saw the power of media. They saw the power of what it does when people have information, when people are able to go and experience, have empathy, experience different worlds through magazines, through newspapers, through even the TV. We had 60 Minutes and all these things. Those things were dismantled on purpose. People didn't just walk away, they were ripped from us.
Yes.
Just like the community was ripped from us, the city was ripped from us.
Well, I mean, just even look at like, so I was born in the bicentennial year. And
Oh,
like it was like a big deal. Like even my grandmother was so proud that I was born in the bicentennial year. My original birth certificate was red, white, and blue. Like my grandmother was a product of the Depression and World War II, so she was very like, hurrah, America. And I remember being a little kid and them telling me the importance of the bicentennial and all the parties that happened and how great of a year it was and how awesome it was going to be that I would turn 50 in the in the whatever the semi quintus what
it's so hard to say.
I
Yes.
don't yeah, I'm not even going to try. And that, like I would get to experience something like that, and wasn't that exciting? And look what they took from us.
Yeah, they did. They took that from us because
Yeah.
people were happy. They were in this whole in the 60s until the late 70s. Well, by the time mid 80s, people were kind of like, well, we should maybe they had gotten their claws in again. They had gotten their claws in again. They started doing revisionist TV. They started the Little House on the Prairie and the Happy Days. That's kind of all part of that. That's kind of all part of taking it back.
Yeah.
Even though we have happy memories of it, that was part of the beginning of the end of taking it back, taking it,
Yes.
being reactionary, taking and not taking it back to the way, the very beginning. Because in the very beginning, if we acted this way, the way we've been acting lately, all of humanity we wouldn't have made it this far.
No.
Literally the last 2% of our existence, we've been acting. Power has been acting very, very badly. But we, the community, the people, we are actually we're good. We've been along for a long time. And who, in regards to, I think about like Leslie Kern, the feminist city, and who was the city for? Who are politics for? Who are institutions for? What are we doing? How are we essentially making our institutions so that we don't have this idea that we have to have a savior, that we have an idea that public life and politics is for everyone. And also, when we forgive someone, like, I'm not saying we should never forgive somebody, like they don't have, no one has a chance to be redeemed. But when you are redeemed, why must you start up as a senator? why,
I,
why must you start as a senator? Even like think about in California, the governor's race. The Democratic person that was running, he got put out because of sexual harassment. And it's like, why are these people who are flawed? Why do they have to start in the at the top? Why can't they be humble? Why can't, and I'm not saying, why can't they ever be part of a team? Why, even now, Platner is acting badly. He's just kind of like, he's not, oh, I'm sorry, I did this. What can I do to help the team? What can I do to help the team? And there is no, they don't care.
no, they don't. They're like it's a very and I think that has to do with being in the United States, or in the West, that like, if I'm going down, I'm taking everybody with me kind of mentality, like they don't care.
Well, I think about Eric. Oh, his name is Eric Swalwell
Yeah, oh
in
yes.
California. He, because of his selfishness, we were this close, because we have a fight for the death primary or in California, so we can end up with two Republicans. Whoever gets the two top votes, that's who gets it. Eric knew that that was in his closet. Instead of stepping aside, he really he put all of California at risk because of this ego. And Graham Platner, same thing. You knew what was in your closet. You knew that with this atmosphere, what's happening right now, we have an amazing chance to get Collins out of there. And you did this. You could have stepped aside, but they don't care about us. They
Well,
care about their ego.
yes, they care about their ego. They care about their wealth. You can't even say that they would care about their family, because if they cared about their family, then when they were approached to like run for something like Senate and they knew these things about themselves, they would be like, no, I can't. I have some skeletons in my closet, and the after effect would really hurt my wife and kids, et cetera, et cetera. Like they don't even care about the blowback hitting their families so hard.
I
They just keep pushing forward stubbornly.
And I think about myself. I think like, oh wow, I've got a graveyard in my closet. I could never, I would never do that to my family. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think about that. Like I would never. Now I'm like, well, maybe I should. That's okay. But no, not the answer. We're not saying that what the answer should be is that women should also not care. I'm not saying that. I'm saying our whole entire system is created that we pump up people who are essentially sadists, because essentially they're going to continue the oppression. They're going to continue this shape. I think that's an interesting thing. It continues the shape of power, and it continues the shape of the production of power. And I think that that's something that we really have to think about. And with that, we're gonna like wrap it up. Is there anything else that you would like to add today?
I think that just, for our listeners, just to really look at how hegemony works and functions, you can do so easily by comparing Graham Platner to Zoran Mamdani. You can see the microscope that Mamdani was under during his campaign and continues to exist under every day of his life, while Platner, a upper middle class white man, is that people are bending over backwards to forgive him for some really horrific things. And those things about him could have been found with a very quick Google search and not a microscope.
He wasn't hiding who he was. I mean, I think it's the thing. They spent a buttload of money on consultants to research him. And also, too, another thing, this disrespect. I know a lot of people who are in consulting, and a lot of them are Black women, a lot of them are white women. But it was kind of like, in a certain group of people, Black women and white liberals and Black women are on the outs. So instead of getting competent people, they just picked up anyone off the floor and understands like, hey, Guess what? Those women who are professional consultants who vet people and who get people who you think are super boring, they always vet me and tell me absolutely not. They vetted me several times, absolutely not. But these women that do this job, they're good at it. They're not just, oh, they're not looking for the cool person, looking for the cool person that will withstand background checks. And now, especially with people, especially the younger people are, the easier it is to find dirt on them. And I don't want,
Yes.
I'm not even saying that you should be looking for that, but if you're running for office, why was Mondami not looked at as hard? No, why is Mondami looked at so harshly and Graham Platner was not? This is, they're just like, well, he was an oyster fan. And they were just laughing. I just, in my own head, I'm like, remember that thing I sent you with their consultant? They were just laughing, like, ha ha. I was like, what's funny? What is funny, man?
What's funny about this? Like you really didn't do your job. Like the women that have been put out of the vetting process, like they're like, your bestie that you're like, "Oh, hey, I went on a date with this guy, but I didn't get his last name and he has no socials." And within 3 minutes she has like a background check on him. That's, women we can dig into shit very quickly and find out stuff about people. So that's a huge loss.
That is a huge loss. And I'm sorry, if you need an investigation, you want Karen. Okay. That's who you want. That's who you want on the job. I swear to God. You people always regard, oh, whatever. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way, because I don't even use that term in a bad way. But I'm saying in a way, if we're gonna reclaim it, like in a way though, I'm gonna tell you something. That term is a way to make people feel bad for, following up, pushing forward, being aggressive. That's just a way to make you shut up. So when somebody tells you that, you should say, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I am. I hope to one day be as confident as Karen. Um, anyway, with that, we're gonna wrap it up. I want to say like some books to read that kind of just talks about space. Henri Lefebvre, The Production of Space, Dolores Hayden, the domestic of the great grand domestic revolution, Leslie Kern, Feminist City, Doreen Massey, Space, Place, and Gender. I think these are all like important books for you to have, and just kind of like you can know that, because again, sometimes it's just about the shape of things and the physical space and social space are not like separate things. And remember that you are part of a team. We're all part of a team. And to listen to us on Spotify, YouTube,
Substack.
Substack.
Yes.
We're also on Facebook. There's so many. Oh, also go to Suburban. Oh, you can actually get all that stuff on suburbanreview.com. It just spells suburbanreview.com. All right. And have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much.